Welcome, everyone. This is my review and breakdown of the 1984 film Dune, directed by David Lynch, and written by Frank Herbert and David Lynch. Overall, Dune is one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. That being said, it may have a cult following, but it definitely causes a love-hate reaction. To me, it seems like a nice blend of the fantasy and mysticism in Star Wars and the politics and intelligence of the Star Trek universe. Add in a bit of political allegory, and let's be honest, some unique elements provided by Lynch's direction and Herbert's writing. Until recently, I had successfully read one of Frank Herbert's novels, 1981's God Emperor of Dune, the fourth book in the original series. I'm not sure why I skipped the first three. Recently, I've restarted the entire book series, and needless to say, it is very different than the movie. In this review, I'm going to spend a bit more time setting up the world of Dune. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers, but there's no way around that. And then towards the end, it'll get a bit more spoilery as I talk about some of my favorite scenes. The movie starts with an artistic summary of where the pieces are in the Dune universe. It's a little dated, but I appreciate the succinct overview of the major players. I hate to make this comparison, but think of Dune as Game of Thrones in space. I'm still a little salty about the Game of Thrones and how it ended, and its current situation with the books. We find out that people became dependent on thinking machines that essentially did everything for us. Think of what we turned into in WALL-E. As usual, dependency becomes subjugation. The tools we came to depend on were used as the chains of humanity's slavery. Then there's a revolt led by a religious group who later became the leaders of what could be described as schools to teach mind expansion, which adds to the mysticism element of the movie lore. All of this is covered in the first few moments of the movie in flashback form through a series of paintings. By the time we join the plot, there are two of these schools remaining. One of them is led by the Bene Gesserits, and the other, the much less mystically sounding Spacing Guild. The former focuses on what we would consider magic, while the latter focuses on science and math. The Spacing Guild have joined with, how to describe them, giant floating magical testicle aliens who can fold space-time using the real main character of this movie, the spice melange. The spice is what the plot of the movie revolves around, and what provides the allegorical comparisons to, say, oil or rare minerals, places like the Middle East or Central Africa, or any other commodity that gives us the power to travel and do what was once considered magical powers, things we take for granted today. The Spacing Guild has a monopoly on this form of spice melange powered travel, so of course they've become rich and powerful. The world, or worlds in this case, is dominated by the Emperor, who is the leader of the Choam mining company, and they control the spice. The spice comes from really one place, the planet Arrakis. We finally catch up to the actual time of the movie in the year 10,192. I had to go back and listen to that to make sure I had the number right. People, at least on the political side of things, are divided into houses. Again, the two most powerful houses are the House Atreides, our protagonist, and House Harkonnen, a misunderstood family from Space Alabama, who happen to have a long list of kinks and an obesity problem. House Atreides seems to be the popular family in town and makes the Emperor very uneasy, so he partners up with House Harkonnen to set the plot of the movie in motion. House Harkonnen, of course, hates House Atreides. They go more into this in the books, of course. Now that the stage has been set, I'm going to go a little lighter on the plot details in case you haven't seen Dune yet. Here are a few elements I want to make note of. A little bit of a warning. Some of these things I like or dislike, and other people feel the exact opposite, and that's okay. I'm not trying to convert anyone into believing anything. This is just my opinion. Normally I would do the things I like first, but I have a reason for switching it up this time. Let's start with the things that I had a bit of a problem with. The first one. The concept of the Chosen One is a theme that runs through this movie. And it gets revealed a little too early, and it really hits you over the head with who is going to become the Kwisatz Haderach. I know I said that wrong. In retrospect, It would have been nice to have that concept spread out a little thinner throughout the movie. An example of this can be found with the Fremen. The Fremen are the local people of Arrakis. They look human except for the blue on blue eyes, which is a result of being around the spice. It's also really convenient that the prophecy of the Kwisatz Haderach matches exactly what the Fremen believe. But hey, it was the 1980s. Sometimes you had to spell things out for us. Fast forward, another issue I have, and this is a little backwards one, the sandworms. And I really like them in this movie. As a movie in 1984, it was amazing to see the scale and the power portrayed on screen.
Gods, what a monster!
What I don't like about them is how this movie is forever associated with them. Dune? You mean the one with the worms? It's like the lightsaber in Star Wars or space battles in Star Trek. Every time Hollywood revisits any of these previous ventures, they have to crank it up for the ADHD times. I'm sure the next Dune movie will have 1,000 sandworms. Maybe one so big that it eats planets. In Dune 1984, they are really just part of the atmosphere and background of Arrakis, and only come into the foreground at the end of the movie as part of the finale. The next thing is the acting. The acting, especially the Harkonnen, can be over the top.
And he'll know that it is I, then Vladimir Harkonnen, who encompasses his doom.
Later, he's dead. Oh, he's dead.
I know.
And finally, and this is an abbreviated list for the sake of time, the cat. What is going on with this cat?
Introduced into your body through Fahawaz. By milking this smooth little cat body, you receive your antidote. It must be done each day.
There's more, but we're just going to stop it there. Let's talk about some good things that I really like. And not all of these things are considered good things by everyone. First, the set design. The props, the models are all utterly bizarre, and I love them for their obvious brass balls for going all out on the weird factor. I mean, Tolfir Hawat's eyebrows. Some of the effects are dated, but you get to see a variety of practical sets, miniatures, animation blends, and what it's like to take a little too much LSD.
Traveling without moving.
Second, I like how some of the actors will just start talking to themselves, sometimes in their heads and sometimes just out loud, to express their inner monologue.
Why would they want the Duke's son killed?
A few moments later.
Why would they want the Duke's son killed?
We must have a look at Paul Atreides.
She's using the voice. No.
Some strength there.
Would I like to see this in every movie? Absolutely not. But it fits with David Lynch's tone and theme nicely. It gets mocked sometimes, but I find it entertaining, and it moves the characters along, and that's all. I enjoy it. Next, the characters. I like how Paul Atreides, played by Kyle MacLachlan, starts as a spoiled brat. It makes the end more rewarding.
I heard you, Dr. Yui, and Gurney coming down the hall.
Those sounds could be imitated.
I'd know the difference.
Shield practice.
Shield practice? Gurney, we had practice this morning. I'm not in the mood.
Not in the mood. Mood's a thing for cattle and love play, not fighting.
I like how a young Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart, is a lot more aggressive than when we rejoin him as captain of the Enterprise D. I would have paid good money to see Captain Picard pull a knife on Data or Riker. I also really like the father-son relationship between Duke Atreides, played by Jurgen Prochnow, and his son Paul.
Makes me feel very proud.
I want you to be proud of me.
Lady Jessica, played by Francesca Annis, the Duke's concubine and Paul's mother, has a great storyline as a Bene Gesserit disciple who has already broken church law for her family and continues to make these decisions based on protecting her family, sometimes contrary to her own religion. Brad Dourif is, well, Brad Dourif. I think he's awesome, but not enough to invite him over to be around my kids.
It is by will alone I set my mind in motion. It is by the juice of Safu that thoughts acquire speed, the lips acquire stains, stains become a warning. It is by will alone I set my mind in motion.
Max von Sydow plays Brewmeister Smith. He works for the Emperor as the liaison to Arrakis and is a bit of a walking exposition dump, but he's so good at it, it really doesn't detract from the movie for me.
Is there a relationship between the worms and the spice?
As I said, they defend the spice sands. As to their relationship with the spice, who knows?
There are other great actors in this movie who give great performances, but for the sake of time, I won't go through each one. Next, and this is more of a backwards one too, I'm not really impressed by the hand-to-hand fighting mechanics of the movie. I get the sense that the personal shields were supposed to be so cool, like lightsabers. Obviously, that did not turn out as planned. One note, though, the voice weapons do become a part of Paul Atreides' character arc, and admittedly leads to one of my favorite scenes in the movie. An example of technology that fits in the movie that I really like, and has a great lore around it, are the still suits. They have to wear them to conserve water and survive on Arrakis. I like what it adds. They don't seem overindulgent, and the plot sticks with them through the entire movie. But please take note, this is more of a criticism of other movies than a praise of this one. Finally, the ending, and this part's a bit more spoilery. I really enjoyed the ending. Everything about this part of the movie screams 1980s. I love it. I remember people cheering in the theater. Once Paul becomes Muad'Dib, he recruits the Fremen to fight the Harkonnen. The whole series of scenes is so over the top. People riding sandworms, spaceship battles, World War II style battles, shaky special effects. So good and so 1980s. The music even shifts from a traditional orchestral score to more of a rock anthem. There's even a montage of Fremen waging guerrilla war against Big Spice. We reunite with Ensign Picard in the series of battles that would lead to him being given the command of the Stargazer.
Paul, don't you trust your own eyes?
They said you were dead! They said... Gurney, man, you young fop! You young fop!
Also, another 1980s trope, creepy children.
Poor Emperor. I'm afraid my brother won't be very pleased with you.
Silence! Kill this child. She's an abomination. Kill her.
Get out of my mind!
Not until you tell them both who I really am.
Finally, the payoff. I don't know why, but the final few scenes are some of my favorites of all time. Paul basically tells the Emperor that the war is over and he should hit the road. The Bene Gesserit witch working for the Harkonnen tries her magic on Paul, not really realizing that he's the chosen one. That word that I can't pronounce. Then this happens.
Try looking into that place where you dare not look. You'll find me there staring back at you.
You mustn't speak!
I have this scene as a GIF. I've also paid homage to it in movies I've made. I've used it anytime the moment feels right.
You mustn't speak!
I love the way the Reverend Mother just snarls and looks like she's in pain after being hit with Muad'Dib's words. I could watch that scene over and over again, and I have. I don't know what it is. Something's wrong with me. My second favorite scene happens shortly after that. Paul gives Sting a new dental plan, and then this happens. The head Fremen guy is like, dude. And the other guy is like, dude. Paul then becomes Space Jesus and then literally makes it rain on this desert planet. And then the movie ends. So here are the results of my assessment of Dune 1984. Let's start with cinematic quality. This is an overall score compared to what is considered to be great movies of our time. This looks at everything from technique to acting. I give it a 6 out of 10. Rewatchability. This is the chance that I would leave it on if it came on TV, or pop it on the TV if I had some time to relax. Even if it's the 10th time I've watched it, 8 out of 10. Party score. Would I put it on TV if others came over to hang out? 6 out of 10. That one's a little lower because I guess it depends who your friends are. Most people, probably not. But my friends seem to like similar things. Memeability. How many scenes, quotes, or concepts repeat themselves post-release? I'm giving this one 8 out of 10. There are scenes in here, the concept of a sandworm, the talking to yourself. I see it a lot. I use it a lot. Again, just my opinion. Finally, personal enjoyment. This is a summative score. And I guess the numbers come out to, let's say, 7.5, I guess. This is not a scientific score. This is just my opinion. So in the end, one of my favorite movies, definitely one of my favorite sci-fi movies. I want to thank you for watching. If you like this review, please click the like button and click subscribe. I'm already working on the next one. That'll be out soon, I hope. Leave a comment if there's a movie you'd like for me to watch and evaluate. Anyway, thanks for watching.